I'm pleased to present this report, Protecting the Age of Innocence. The report of the House of Representatives Standing Committee on Social Policy and Legal Affairs inquiry into age verification for online wagering and online pornography. Mr Speaker, there can be no doubt that we are increasingly living in an online world, and no one is more active online than our children and young people. 15 to 17-year-olds have the highest percentage of internet usage in the country, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The internet offers our children new ways to learn, play and connect with their friends and family, but it has also made them vulnerable to new threats. All over the country, parents are rightly asking themselves if they really know what their children are doing online. With the widespread use of mobile phones and tablets outside the home, the truth is that many do not. During this inquiry, the committee heard that young people today are increasingly accessing or being exposed to pornography on the internet. One submission cited Australian research indicating that 69% of males and 23% of females had viewed pornography at the age of 13 years or younger. In many cases, children's exposure to pornography is unintentional or outside parents' control. Parents, teachers and others recounted first-hand experiences of children in their care encountering pornography online through friends or schoolmates, or as a result of totally innocuous web searches. Mr Speaker, this pornography being accessed even by primary school students is much more extreme and in some cases more violent than ever before. We're not talking about the occasional discarded Playboy magazine of the past. The committee heard about a barrage of pornography, accessible free of charge online, which increasingly portrays sexual violence, non-consensual behaviour and highly distorted gender roles. Disturbingly, it is the pornography that portrays this kind of behaviour which is among the most popular. The impact this material is having on our children and our young people is extremely concerning. The committee heard how exposure to this extreme content is reinforcing harmful gender stereotypes, contributing to unrealistic understandings of sex and sexuality, and even normalising sexual violence. In the words of Ms Julie Inman-Grant, the E-Safety Commissioner, she said there are deep and legitimate concerns about ready access to online pornography and how that might impact the social sexualisation of an entire generation. More broadly, the committee heard about exposure to pornography contributing to poor mental health, anxiety about body image, eating disorders, reduced academic performance, erectile dysfunction, feelings of guilt and embarrassment about sex, and even systemic issues such as violence against women. In relation to online wagering, the committee received fewer submissions. Nonetheless, we heard about how exposure at a young age can lead to problem gambling later in life. Though not directly in the scope of this inquiry, we also heard that children are increasingly being exposed to simulated gambling through what are called loot boxes in video games, which can act as a gateway to other forms of gambling. As many as 160,000 Australian adults suffer right now today with severe problems in their lives as a result of gambling. Up to a further 350,000 Australian adults currently display gambling behaviours which may make them vulnerable to problem gambling in the future. Problem gambling is strongly linked to increased financial problems and bankruptcy, increased likelihood of family breakdown, substance abuse, anxiety and depression, and even suicide. We must prevent children from heading down this path. To say that there is a great deal of public concern about these issues would be a dramatic understatement. The committee received over 3,000 contributions, mostly from individual members of the public. More often than not, these submissions expressed Australians' horror and dismay at the material being accessed by young people and the impact it is having on their lives. The stories of the harm being done to our vulnerable children were frequently distressing to hear. It is critical that we find more effective ways to protect our children online. This inquiry considered the potential role for age verification technology to provide some of that protection by making it much harder for children and young people to access online wagering and pornography online. Online age verification is not a new concept. However, the committee heard that the technology for online verification has become more sophisticated. There are now a range of age verification services available which can balance effectiveness and ease of use with the privacy, safety and security that Australians demand. We heard about methods which include verifying a user's age against a government-issued identity document or estimating a user's age using biometric data. Another method involves using a retail card where the user's identification is cited over the counter at the point of purchase and no identifying information is retained. These methods and others can be mixed or offered as choices to give users the flexibility and the reassurance of privacy and security they need. The committee recognises that none of these methods are perfect. Age verification is by no means a silver bullet, and protecting children and young people from online harm requires government, industry and the community to work together across a range of fronts. However, we must not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Based on the evidence we received, the committee concluded that age verification can create a significant barrier to prevent young people, and particularly younger children, from exposure to harmful online content. It won't solve the problem overnight, but it will dramatically reduce accidental exposure and make it far harder for even determined older children to get access. The committee has therefore made 6 recommendations in support of the implementation of online age verification in Australia. The committee recommended that the Digital Transformation Agency lead the development of standards for online age verification. These standards will help to ensure that online age verification is accurate and effective, and that the process for legitimate consumers is easy, safe and secure. In particular, no personal information other than the user's age-related eligibility should be shared between the age verification provider and the age-restricted site, and the storage of personal information should be minimised so as not to create a honeypot of sensitive data attractive to crime syndicates. The committee also recommended that the Digital Transformation Agency develop an exchange to support the provision of accredited third-party age verification in Australia. In relation to pornography, the committee recommended that the E-Safety Commissioner lead the development of a roadmap for introducing mandatory age verification for online pornographic material. This should be a part of a broader, holistic approach to address the risks and harms associated with online pornography, but it is a vital part. I urge the government to take note of the committee's recommendations in this area and ensure that the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner is adequately resourced to carry out this work. For wagering, the committee recommended quite simply that the Australian government implement a regime of mandatory age verification alongside the existing identity verification requirements. The committee also recommended the development of educational resources for parents and consideration of options for restricting access to loot boxes in video games, including through the use of age verification. The committee believes that together these recommendations will contribute to the safer online environment for children and young people we desperately need. In closing, I again acknowledge the strong public interest in this inquiry, and on behalf of the committee thank all of the individuals and organisations who shared their views with the committee. Mr Speaker, this is not rocket science. We place age restrictions on this kind of material in the offline world for a reason. It is harmful for children and young people, and they should not have access to it. We need to ensure that the age restrictions that rightly apply to content or services offline in the physical world are also enforced online. Put simply, what is illegal in the physical world must be illegal in the online world. I'd like to thank members of the committee also for the work in which they've assisted myself and the Secretariat. I want to acknowledge in particular the member for Newcastle. Whilst technically there is a dissenting report, that is not the practical effect of it. There are only a number of additional comments that the member of Newcastle are making, and I want to thank her for the bipartisan approach that she's taken and her other members have taken in this regard. Thank you. I commend the report to the House.